How are you doing today?
Very well, thanks.
Thank you. Hi, Giri. Nice to see you.
What, you have two phones?
Yeah, that's right. So we were just coordinating, truly waiting for you, but such an honor to have you here. We're truly blessed to have Dr. Aniruddha Malpani here with us. And Giri, we're truly excited because we're expecting a lot of questions from our viewers today. So I'm going to request you to please go ahead and show us the chat box. Perfect.
So, are you going to start by asking me questions, or how do we take it
Right,
forward?
that's right. Yes, sir. I'm just waiting for Giri to show me the chat box. So where you're going to expect a lot of questions. And I'm going to request our viewers to kindly post your questions here itself on the chat so that we could read them live and go ahead. Thank you, everyone. Hello. Absolutely a beautiful hello to everyone towards the month of December. We are here on the second day of December, a global namaste. My name is Simran Ahuja, and we are truly honored to have with us Dr. Aniruddha Malpani, sir. Absolutely the one who rules the charts on the social media, especially LinkedIn. So we have great discussions here today. And towards the beginning, I'm going to thank all our viewers for being here with us. I'm going to request you all to kindly post your questions here itself live so that, yes, we could ask the question. So how are you doing today, Aniruddha, doctor?
Okay, very well. Though I must tell you, I'm no longer on LinkedIn because LinkedIn kicked me out.
I know
So
that. I know that. I know that.
that's actually
You're
where
very
the story
popular. You're
started.
still very
So
popular there.
you
For
should
the
say
same
ex
reason. We're
LinkedIn.
going to talk about that for sure. For sure. But I just wanted to mention that because you have maximum followers, on LinkedIn for sure. Just wanted to have a word there. So thank you very much. And let's get started. Wow, suddenly the figure has gone to 159 people. So please tell us what in the world made you really, come, from the beautiful degree of, being a medical gynecologist, towards angel investing. What in the world would make Dr. Aniruddha take the step?
So, I always tell people I have the best job in the world because I'm an IVF specialist. So I get women pregnant and their husbands pay me to do that for them. So you're absolutely right. Very gratifying, very satisfying because you're changing people's lives dramatically for the better. But I think also what happens is typically when you want to lead life, you use what is called a T-shaped model, which means you got a lot of expertise in one particular niche, but then you want to apply that into other fields as well. And, as an IVF specialist, I've been doing this for 30 years with my wife, been there, done that, pretty much seen everything. So now at some point, you also want to think about what do you want to give for the next generation? And a lot of that is one of the reasons why I became an angel investor. And a lot of people ask me this question, and there are lots of similarities. Let me
Is
give you
it?
an example. I'll tell
Okay.
you why. As a doctor, we prescribe what we call information therapy for our patients, which
Right.
means patients come to us, they have questions, we try to educate them, we respect them, we empathize with them, we listen and we try to fulfill what their desires are. So we explain choices. And the good thing about infertility is it's all elective treatment. There's no urgency, there's no pressure. Options include adoption, remaining childless. There are multiple things happening. So you need to give them time to think. And what's interesting is that's actually true for entrepreneurs as well. It's not compulsory for an entrepreneur to take funding. Entrepreneurs can be bootstrapped, they can raise money from angels or from VCs. And I think a lot of it also is, as a doctor, you're just helping the patient to achieve their goal. And honestly, as an angel investor, I think you're trying to help the entrepreneur to achieve his or her goal. We're acting as catalysts. So I think it's a lot of similarity. And if we put our patient's interests first, I think there's nothing more gratifying than being a doctor. And similarly, if we put the entrepreneur's interests first, I think being an angel investor is great. It keeps you young all the time because you hang out with all these clever young guys who have all these ideas about how to change the world.
Dr. Aniruddha, I'm truly thrilled, to read already, the questions, by our viewers. So if you don't mind, we're going to start, one by one. And of course, we're going to start with, interestingly, the first question. Can you please share with us some of the, sides of what really went, haywire with White Hat Jr. And, what is the scenario right now? Would you like to speak on that?
Oh, happily. Everything I do is very open book. I'm a big believer in openness, transparency, equity, and I need to walk my talk. I can't be hypocritical and say one thing and do something else. So, for example, a lot of the white hat stuff is pretty much public domain. There were all these ads, and a lot of these, if you follow me on Twitter, has been documented not just by me, but a lot of other people have. So, at some point, I used to be scared. It's literally a David versus Goliath battle. These guys have billions of dollars, expensive lawyers. How do you manage? But I think thanks to social media platforms like Twitter, I don't feel alone anymore. We've effectively crowdsourced everything which is happening. So they tell me, hey, this is what WhiteHatJr is doing. This is how they're saying the untruths in their ad. This is how they're misleading parents. And lots of good things have happened as a result of that. So a lot of that is, as I said before, available. What I must point out to you is good things have started to happen as a result of the campaign. For example, all the ads which we objected to, which would have things like Wolf Gupta earning salaries of crores, or they would feature things like photographs of Bill Gates, Whitehead Jr. has now taken down. So they don't run those ads anymore. So I think that's at least one step in the right direction. And a lot of the stuff, the backstory with the Byju's is on our website. We have a website called indianangel.in. And one of the problems with LinkedIn is once LinkedIn takes down your accounts, they actually remove all your content. But fortunately, I had a backup, and therefore everything is well documented.
Wow, you've been very, very lucky from that perspective. But we do have a lot of, viewers who would really like to know and talk about, today's day and age, the digital age, where freedom of expression and criticism is sharply met with the deletion of posts and, of course, the content by the so-called protectors of speech and expression. That is the online social media platforms. What is your say on this? I mean, how did you react to this entire scenario? Were you really as calm as you sound right now, or was it really
No, I wasn't. Trust me, it's no fun being getting an email from LinkedIn saying, "Sorry, we've deleted your account, and we're not even going to bother to reply to you anymore." And it's no fun getting a lawsuit slapped on you with 1,000 pages of, and then you have to appear overnight. But trust me, that's not fun. But at some point, I have to learn to look at the silver lining behind every cloud. And yes, you're right. I guess what Whitehead Jr. expected is we would roll over and die and say, look, I'm sorry, humko kshama kar do, ab dobara aisa nahi karenge. And when I say a lot of it was also thanks to Pradeep Punia on Twitter, who's much smarter than I am, who's a techie, who did a lot more digging, actually explained exactly what was wrong, what they were doing, as a result of which a lot of it came up in the open. And that obviously strengthened my resolve. And now it's become a much bigger battle. So it's no longer just Pradeep or me or anyone else. It's all of us put together. And I think, even if Whitehead Jr. has all the money in the world and all the best lawyers in the world, the fact still remains is that lots of individual Davids can still take down a Goliath. And especially when a Goliath does unethical stuff. And actually what bothers me is the fact that you're dealing with the next generation. You need to be nurturing these kids. You need to be able to give them, they are our future. And honestly, I think, by making all these tall promises, which don't make any sense at all, you've allowed that garden of the educational startup ecosystem to get polluted by weeds. And if you have so many weeds, the flowers will never get a chance to grow. And there are actually lots of good social impact edutech entrepreneurs who have their heart in the right place, but they're getting crowded out because of all these ads. And once parents have burnt their fingers with a bad experience with these brand names, why would they trust anyone else? So that's a big problem. And I think the second thing is a lot of investors are now putting pressures on their edutech startups. Hey, Baiju can be worth $10 billion. Why aren't you using their business plan? Why aren't you doing exactly the same thing? And what's even worse is because everyone kept quiet when Whitehead Jr. came out with all these ridiculous ads. So they kept on getting even more arrogant. And yes, no one's objecting. And therefore they did one, then they did five, then they did 10. They had much more money. So if they can do it, why can't we do it? And a lot of other startup edutechs have tragically started following in their footsteps and taking all these shortcuts. And that doesn't bode well for the future.
right? I really wonder, Dr. Malpani, which question should I go ahead with? Where someone really wants to know, are you really fine with the White Hat Junior, everything, the fight that is going on, or you're okay to really step back from this case?
Okay, two things. One is, like I said, people need to remember that it's no longer about me right now. I'm well off, wealthy, contented. I don't need to get into all these legal battles. I think there are two other things now. It's a matter of principle. We have the right for free speech. I'm proud of the fact that I'm an Indian citizen. I live in a democracy. I don't live in China. I can speak up and my voice can be heard. And if I do not stand up for my principles, then what principles are we talking about? And I hate hypocrisy. So what's the point of my being a hypocrite? How will I be able to sleep well at night myself if I back down under this kind of corporate bullying and pressure? And just imagine the message I would give to other people. Hey, Dr. Malpani got scared. He ran away. These guys bullied him. So everyone's going to say that. Whereas if, on the other hand, I stand up and fight back, you're giving a message to the corporate bullies that you can't get away with trying to censor free speech. People will not put up with it anymore. And I think to that extent, that equation has changed to a large extent. And I think hopefully it will inspire other people. A lot of people will say, you only talk about Byju's and White Hat. My point is, if there is stuff you know about which other people are doing, which is wrong, shady, and unethical, please, the platform is open for everyone. Why don't you bring out what's happening instead of keeping quiet? So I think if that happens, I'll be more than happy.
Wonderful. I want to know, Dr. Malpani, that this isn't the first time actually that you've complained about something. Anybody who knows you over the LinkedIn can really testify here. In the past, you've written about your ideological issues with TCS as an organization and the Indian entrepreneurs not being up to the mark and so much, but not as much you did in this case. But for Byju's, you actually wrote back to back posts, non-stop. And was there something in particular that you really disliked and, you really wanted to strongly oppose against? Was there something deep in your heart? I like the beautiful smile you have on your face, Dr. Aniruddha.
I always tell everyone, I'm an equal opportunity critic. If I see someone doing something I'm not happy with, I criticize doctors. I criticize the medical profession. It's just that you may not be aware of this. But, I'm a second generation doctor. There used to be a time when I was proud of the fact that I was a doctor. But that trust between doctors and patients is gone. That trust deficit is actually increased. That's not a great situation. It's not great for doctors, and it's definitely not great for patients. And I think that's tragic. So therefore, I will speak up. I think what happens is everyone has a particular lens. So if people don't care about my speaking up about the healthcare stuff, they ignore those posts. And they selectively look at the posts which interest them. And that's why they think, and a lot of people think, hey, you must have a hidden agenda. Why are you doing this? And at this stage in my life, why do I need a hidden agenda at all? I think people sometimes find it difficult that you speak up for what's right. And I don't understand why it's so difficult. Didn't you read the Ramayana? Did your grandmother ever tell you about them? I'm not trying to equate myself with those guys. I didn't set out to be a crusader. Please remember that. But having said that, I will not back off from a fight because I'm scared or because I'm worried. And you're absolutely right. At some point, I won't need to talk about. I think I should emphasize that. I do not criticize for the sake of criticizing. There's no point in negativity. I want to be positive about things. And remember, the fact that I sign checks, I am an active angel investor, means that I believe in entrepreneurs. I believe in startups. If I had got disillusioned and cynical, I would have stopped signing checks. Angel investing is a high risk enterprise. Most of the money disappears. You don't get any of it. And yet, because I trust entrepreneurs, because I trust the next generation, I continue signing checks. But I honestly believe that there is a right way of doing things and a wrong way of doing things. And it's very easy to take shortcuts. But if we don't emphasize that that's not the right way, if we don't stand up for what is right, everyone is going to be tempted to take those shortcuts. So, I might appear very stodgy, old-fashioned. What is this principle this guy's talking about? Everyone takes these shortcuts. And I've actually had some of that criticism. Why the hell are you making such a big deal? They're all equally bad. So, just because they're all equally bad, therefore we say nothing at all. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I honestly think one rotten apple causes the entire bushel of apples to go bad. And we need to speak up against this.
Sure. Dr. Aniruddha, we like to know, what if you were on the other side? What would have really been very different and unique, assuming that you were on the other side of the table? As in, what if you would be the Karan Bajaj of the White Hat Jr.? What you would have done?
So I wouldn't have made false promises either to my investors that I'm going to be able to multiply my revenue within so much time. And I definitely wouldn't have made false promises to parents and customers. But I think at some point, okay, fine, let's assume you made it and now you've realized. I think you would publicly acknowledge, look, okay, fair enough, this is what I did. I think there's nothing wrong with mea culpa. We were guilty, accept it. And this is what we're doing to turn over a new leaf. But I think it needs guts to walk the talk. So just a little bit of backstory. One of the reasons when I spoke about Byju's on LinkedIn, I talked about that toxic work culture. And I said part of the reason is because you're so focused on generating revenue that you're effectively treating your children, the students, the future citizens of India as revenue generating machines, as widgets. And you're pressurizing your salesman, you're setting all kinds of targets for them. So the only job of the salesman is not to care about the student or whether he learns. It's only to close as many deals as possible. So one of the investors from Byju's called me up and said, look, I think you're getting the wrong impression. Ravindran Baiju, the founder, is actually a very great guy. Why don't you talk to him? I spoke to him. He said, yes, we've grown exponentially, hyper growth. Some of these things have fallen between the cracks. We're happy to correct. What suggestions do you have? Let me put you in touch with my head of HR. I spoke to his chief people officer who actually thanked me publicly on LinkedIn, who acknowledged that, yes, there are problems. We need to fix our work culture. I was excited. I was saying that, you're accepting the fact and you're trying to fix it. So I said, what Byju's can do is actually to heal a sick work culture. And it's not just Byju's, it happens across the country. Why don't you actually start a platform on LinkedIn, which helps all these young junior managers who are so impressionable to understand that their first responsibility is actually to their customer. If you do what's right to the customer, everything will fall into place. Said all the right things, then said, yes, we will turn over a new leaf. We will walk our talk, and got me kicked out, which is another story. And, we'll see what happens. So I think there are always opportunities for people to say, yes, this was a problem. This is what we're going to do. And in one sense, they've actually stopped running those ads. So in one sense, good things have happened. But I wish they would be willing to stand up and say, yes, this is how we're going to fix things moving forward. And this is how we're willing to be answerable, responsible, accountable, and transparent.
Wonderful. We have a lot of questions where they would like to know that what do you think would be the negative effect of startups like White Hat Junior or Byju's or Jago on the Indian education system?
I think that's a big problem, quite frankly. For one thing, everyone seems to follow the leader. I mean, that's typical herd mentality. So investors will do that, everyone will do that. And then obviously because they spend so much, if you had a great product, honestly, you don't need to advertise. But when you don't, then you have see all these ads with Shah Rukh Khan endorsing them and stuff like that. And I think that you can fool lots of people lots of the time. And, a lot of people are getting misled by some of this stuff. So part of it is, it's like the Gresham's law. The bad crowds out the good, so that the good startup entrepreneurs who are willing to take it slow and steady and understand there are no shortcuts aren't being able to get enough mind space, which I think is, really tragic. So there are going to be consequences. I think at some point this bubble is going to burst. What the consequences after that are, I don't know. I think one good thing, and I will acknowledge this publicly, is that Byju's and White Hat have created a lot of awareness that education can be provided online. And I think that's great. Because don't forget, Salman Khan was available for, the Khan Academy was available for many years, but people never used it. But thanks to Byju's putting in all their ads, people understand that online learning, what are called asynchronous video classes, synchronous video classes are definitely an option. So I think that's great. Unfortunately, they lost that message in their pursuit of profits is sometimes what I believe. And hopefully people will say, yes, we can do this ethically, correctly. And I think the best thing to do would be that whatever content was available should be given away free. Because so much of it is available on YouTube, on Khan Academy, and there are so many of us who are actually teachers and educators and who want to share our wisdom. Saraswati wants to be shared. It's not like Lakshmi who wants to hoard herself. So let's create that. And if it's digital content, there's no need to charge for the digital content because your marginal cost is zero. But if after the student has tried to learn for himself, because you want students to be independent self-learners. You don't want to make them dependent on tuition teachers. If they then get stuck, then you can use a live teacher who can then charge for their time. So this is called the flipped classroom model, where every student learns for themselves. They figure out 80% of the stuff, and the stuff which they can't, they then have a teacher session maybe once a week or whatever else. And a lot of this can be peer-to-peer learning. So I think there are lots of opportunities, and trust me, I'm not just criticizing. I'm actually now funding people. These are usually social impact edutech entrepreneurs who don't want to grow exponentially, who are happy plodding along with the hope that we'll be able to create something of quality, which will then become the resource to go to. So stay
Sure.
tuned.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think a few of them have been asking that why is it that they've been, blocked on LinkedIn just because they express their views and, they have the freedom of speech. Do you want to say something to them? And I think, yeah, they really want to be connected with you for sure.
So, I think the first response when something like this happens is denial. There must have been a glitch or a mistake. Then there is a phase of anger. Why are they doing this to me? Then there's a phase of bargaining. Maybe if I can talk, कोई पहचान निकाल लो, कोई सीईओ या इससे तो भी बात करो, शायद उनको रहम आ जाएगा और account restore करेंगे. But at some point, there's got to be, we can't allow them to bully us like this. And then once you reach that phase, I think you need to fight back. And, okay, so I'm quite happy being the torch leader, so to say, and then hopefully people will follow. And my hope, quite frankly, is that the judiciary will say you cannot treat Indian citizens like this. You can't pick and choose what laws you want to apply. And the laws actually exist because LinkedIn and all these social media platforms are called information intermediaries. There is a Ministry of Information Technology which actually has certain rules which sadly are not being followed. And one of the rules is that you cannot remove a post unless the government of India or a government of India authorized agency, which is either the court or the Ministry of Education, tells you to do that. But these guys are just using their powers, misusing their powers left, right, and center. To give you an example, the WhiteHatJr online reputation management company actually went on record saying that YouTube gives us access to the APIs so that when anyone says anything bad about White Hat Jr., we remove the video. Can you imagine that YouTube, which is a Google property, allows a third party to sit and decide which videos are going to be aired and which videos aren't, which I was actually so disappointed, really. I had a good opinion of all these guys, but effectively, part of the problem is companies like Byju's and Whitehat Jr. spend so much money on these platforms as advertisers, and ultimately, money talks, which is sad.
Sure. Dr. Aniruddha Malpani, I would like to know, is there something you want to really speak about, yourself? And it's not really clarification, but just speak your heart out to all our viewers who've been here to lend you a ear because they just want to know the truth from you. Is there something, it could be the hidden secret, it could be something very close to your heart, or it could just be a very beautiful conversation with our viewers. Is there something you'd like to tell everyone?
Honestly, I do. And I think people sometimes underestimate the value of self-learning and how much information is actually available. And that's one of the things, whenever I talk to an entrepreneur, I say, whether I give you money or not, I will try to help you become a better entrepreneur. So we will refer them to a book which perhaps they should read. And there is so much wisdom in these books. And that just makes me so much incrementally more knowledgeable about exactly what's happening. So my request is don't get carried away by these bubbles, by these passions, by what is frothy. All this stuff will come and go. A lot of stuff is timeless wisdom. And this timeless wisdom is often either in mythology, in fables, in stories your grandmother told, because ethics never change over lifetimes. And a lot of this is actually within books which are written 10 years, 50 years ago, because these are classics. And that's where you should be getting your information from, rather than getting swayed by so-and-so raised $1 million and so-and-so's valuation was so much. Because these are all vanity metrics. They really won't help you. Stay true to your heart and everything else will fall into place.
I think this also goes as a beautiful message by Dr. Aniruddha Malpani. So how does it go? Please tell me, how do you feel, after all this wondrous experience where, as a doctor, as a gynecologist, everyone had that complete faith in you. And now, of course, you have that complete faith in your investors and vice versa. I mean, do you ever feel sometimes, all right, that was better, or, do you
You
ever
know,
get,
think about it. In one sense, it's actually pretty much the same. That as an IVF doctor, you're helping to nurture these embryos and grow them into babies. And in one sense, as an angel investor, you're nurturing these startups and helping them to grow into businesses. And you're using exactly the same principles. You're providing them with the right conditions so they can grow. You're trying to remove all the toxic influences so that they can continue to grow and become healthy. And you're providing them with reassurance, experience, and expertise that it is possible for them to succeed. So I think there are lots of parallels.
and before we conclude, we like to know, is there any advice you like to give, to all our beautiful investors who've joined us today? At this point of time, what advice would you like to give them?
So in one sense, I actually count some of my blessings because I think people forget that VCs have a lot of constraints, especially when you're raising other money from other people and you're spending other people's money. You have to return that money back to other people. And I think that's the great thing about an angel investor because it's personal money, money which I've earned. I'm only answerable to my wife, and she's been married to me for way too long to be, she pretty much allows me to do whatever I think is right with that money. So therefore, what happens is that we can then invest that money into what we think is right without having to get distracted by things like valuations and metric, which I think are vanity metrics or exits. And I think there are lots, and I honestly believe this. I think there are lots of good people out there. I think human beings have an altruistic streak within them. And I think actually your DNA hardwires that into you. Because as human beings, we live in tribes, we live in groups, and we don't just look after our own selfish interests. We understand that when other people in the tribe do well, we also do well. And that's why I'm very, very optimistic about the future. And that's why I fund entrepreneurs. And I will continue doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to hear your side of the story. Dr. Aniruddha Malpani here with us. And we are truly thankful to Leher for truly having this wonderful session. Thank you to Giri Malpani for truly making this happen. And to all our viewers who have your complete faith here in us, because we had absolutely Dr. Aniruddha Malpani from all his heart. The wondrous conversation we had, please feel free to ask us any further questions, and we are endeavor, our pleasure to answer you them as well. Thank you very much, and we look forward to yet another session. A humble thanks to you, Dr. Aniruddha Malpani. You've really spoken from your heart, and I hope our viewers got all the answers. And Giri says, hats off to you, sir. Yet again, absolutely a pleasure having you here, and we look forward to having yet another session, in the next few months, a while from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you. Take care.
Humble thanks to you, Dr. Aniruddha Malpani. And thank you to all our viewers. This is Simran Ahuja signing off, and I look forward to meeting you tomorrow in the noon, 1 in the noon, of course, for yet another brilliant session. Till then, stay calm and keep investing. The great advice we had by Dr. Aniruddha Malpani. Humble thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you, guys. Lots of love to all of you.